And often what I find people set their goals around is things that they feel will make them feel more wealthy or they've made. But in actual fact, what you need to focus on is the feeling behind that goal, because so many people will set goals, but then they're not emotionally connected to it.
I want to start today's episode by saying, sorry, I am a little bit sick and congested, so you're going to have to deal with that, but I'm sure you still love me. Welcome back, if you have indeed returned. If this is your first time on Where's My Money, though, I recommend you jump back to the start of season 1 when I was almost out of money and crying about it and considering selling our family home to go renting. It's a real roller coaster. Now, we're wrapping up Money Month here on Where's My Money. You've heard me talk about starting over, building from scratch, and finding your own path. Today, I've got 2 guests who are experts in just that, but in kind of different ways. Sue Kohn-Taylor's back. She's a self-leadership and mental fitness coach, and she's back to talk big picture, juicy, long-term goal setting. Yes, that means retirement ultimately, but it can mean whatever you want it to mean. And I know that sounds vague, but stick with me. I'm also joined by Caroline, who rebuilt her life and got back on the property ladder after hitting rock bottom. We're talking long-term goals, staying resilient, and creating the life you want, even when life throws you off course. Sue Kohn-Taylor is a longtime friend of the podcast who's promised to come into the studio one day and break me down to my very core to understand who I am. But I'm not ready for that yet. So today we're talking owning your own financial future and how to do it without looking over your shoulder and comparing yourselves to the rich family next door. Well, thanks for coming back to the studio, Sue. I genuinely enjoy our time together, and you're a guest I want to keep coming back forever and ever and ever and ever. Like,
awesome. Yeah. I love it.
I feel like I draw good value from you personally and for our listeners as well. And you've started your own podcast or show?
I have just launched The Essence Within You, which is primarily about talking to people about their why and their purpose and how important that is in your journey through life.
Well, you're the perfect guest to have on for this, because we're talking about, some of the people who have had to start from scratch for whatever reason. And it's not just about starting from scratch and getting back to square one, because then you've still got to run the race that everyone else is running, and generally everyone else is already running it. So you've got to start from scratch, start the run, and then go, oh my God, I've still got the goals down there. How do you guide people to set long-term goals that align with their inner essence or their inner values, and not just what everyone else is expecting from them? Because I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of comparison and thinking, it's keeping up with the Joneses, but it's also just thinking, am I doing it right? Am I doing what's expected of me?
Yeah, and there's so much information out there, but you're right, that comparisonitis is just terrible. And often what I find people set their goals around is things that they feel will make them feel more wealthy, or they've made it, or they've got there. But in actual fact, what you need to focus on is the feeling behind that goal, because in my experience, so many people will set goals, but then they're not emotionally connected to it. And so it's hard to keep doing the steps and the action and have the motivation when you're not emotionally connected to a goal.
Yeah.
So, I've got a great exercise that I do with people, and it gets them envisioning first what that looks like. So in 6 months' time, what does that look like? How are you going to feel? And how do you want to be feeling? And for someone who may have lost everything, it might be, I want to feel like I'm getting ahead. I want to feel a little bit more secure.
I want a car that gives me a certain level of status amongst my peers, or I want the house that looks really nice because it makes me look successful. Yeah. Rather, it's I want to feel like I've made it. Therefore, what's going to do that? It's a house where I feel comfortable and warm and safe and
Absolutely. And then you can come back from that and go, okay, so what are those elements? You almost reverse engineer it to come back to say, okay, I'm starting here. So what do I need to do? What are those goals that I need to put in to get me to a place where I feel like that? And there are two things that will happen with that. One is you'll come up with the answers a lot faster.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you'll be so connected to it because you want to feel like you're imagining you're going to be feeling in the future.
Why are we so attached to stuff, do you think? Is it that status kind of conversation?
I think it's a mixture. I think for some people it's status. I think for some people it's that lack of self-worth, so therefore I feel better about myself if I have a great car, and people go, wow, look at that.
Really deep.
Yeah, that is deep, and a lot of people will do that. You see a lot of people, sorry to those people who might be in this category, who go shopping all the time when they might feel sad or angry or whatever, and they just go shopping because it's an emotional,
you get that dopamine
hit to make you feel better. So when you understand setting your goals of how you want to feel in the bigger vision of your scenario, you'll start stripping it back to actually what does matter.
And naturally some of that stuff might come with it if it's actually part of the bigger goal.
Yeah. But
it's not the goal, it's one of the many components to how you're going to feel in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise you'll only sit in a place of misery if you're starting from nowhere and you're saying, I want to have the, Mercedes or the sports car or the whatever. I won't feel good until I've had that. Well, it's going to be hard to chase that when you're
totally.
starting from the beginning.
And I guess this can come to anything. I want to have my mortgage paid off in 10 years because it's going to make me feel a certain way. Well, if you want to feel a certain way, what's making you not feel that way? It's the mortgage. Work backwards. How we're going to pay it off.
Yeah, and if paying that mortgage off is so important to you because you realise what you're going to get out of it mentally and emotionally, then you will find so many different ways to be more tactical about what you do to take the steps to knock it off.
You turn it into a game and you want to win.
You do, because it's like, and I think I mentioned in our brief conversation before just about some business owners that I've worked with who have done this vision, set their goals, and they've been so inspired about how they want to feel in that vision that they've gone, actually, no, this isn't a 5-year goal. This is now a 3-year goal, because they want
They're so desperate for it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So you've obviously got a very successful background in building mental fitness. How do you help people create long-term goals that are easy to be resilient with, particularly when life throws them curveballs? Because I'm sure if someone has had to start from scratch, they already had goals in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those might have been thrown out the window. How do you help them stay resilient through that kind of stuff?
I think for anybody, it's helping people understand that life will always get in the way. You can have the greatest plans, but life will get in the way. So the more adaptable that you can be, the easier it becomes. Whereas if you stay rigid and so fixed on where you're going, you will feel the friction, you'll feel the angst, you'll feel everything that doesn't work. So the more you can step into that place of agility of going, okay, so this has come along, I need to adjust this. And I always liken it a bit to like a sailing boat. You keep adjusting the sails, and sometimes you have to storm them down and cut them down.
It's not set and forget, right?
No, it's not set and forget and just be so hell-bent on going there, because actually when you do that, you sometimes miss the opportunities along the way. So it's having and being connected to the action, and action changes everything, because you can start from scratch with a goal. You start taking action. It gives you motivation, and then you have hope that things will change. And it's a whole package, but the action is key. And so many people will say, I want, I want this, I want to get here, but they don't take the action. And so then the motivation disappears and the hope disappears.
And kicking the can down the road's not going to help you at all, right? Because you're just left wanting the thing that you wanted in the first place.
Exactly, and you become discouraged. So,
that's it.
The whole thing around having a mindset that is about being growth orientated is just about being adaptable. And actually, when you get in that space, it becomes fun. And I say fun because that's how I approach everything in my life, is I just adapt. Okay, so that's happened. That stinks. that wasn't what I was expecting, but how do I now adjust and move? And you become so skilled at that your mental and your emotional fitness still keeps you motivated because you know you can just keep adapting.
I liken that to, I love a metaphor, and clearly you do too, sailboat. I'm thinking of like a superbike racer, you know, they're navigating those bends and the chicanes on a really high-speed motorcycle. If you lean the other way, you're gone.
Yeah.
But if you start to learn to lean with it, all of a sudden you're the most successful rider on the course because you're navigating the corners with the machine.
You're in that
riding.
flow, hey? Yeah.
Oh, what a metaphor. That was deep. Okay, so I want to turn speaking more specifically around retirement and long-term goals, because realistically for all of us, that should be all of our long-term goal for all of us is to retire comfortably, happily, whatever that is. How do we break some of the vagueness around that? Because I think if you ask someone in their 20s or 30s, how are you going to retire? And I don't know, don't really have an answer to that. I just want to retire, maybe travel more or just relax. And that's not really an easy thing to quantify. Obviously, it's going to mean different things to different people. So how do you turn vague retirement dreams, just relax and chill out, into more actionable goals, particularly long-term, that continue to match our values and our self-worth, I guess?
Yeah, and every age and stage will be different because what you might aspire to when you're in your 20s will be different when you're in your 30s, especially if you have children and a family, because you don't have the same sort of disposable income. You've got the money munchers that come along.
But even your perspective on what a happy life could be changes so dramatically. When
and
kids,
you know that at different age and stage.
If you asked me when I was in my early 20s, it probably would have been, I just want to keep traveling and see all these bands, even into my 70s and 80s, see my favourite acts until they're all in the ground. But now it's like you want to spend your retirement with your kids and spend the most time you can with your kids and grandkids and make sure that it's a happy retirement that way.
Yeah.
And that's such a short amount of time for those perspectives to change. So I'm sure I've got another set of perspective shifts.
Oh, you will do.
Still in the barrel,
You will do. Yeah. And you see that with people who get into their 40s, especially once 45. You talk about that midlife crisis and suddenly you get a lot of people going, I'm running out of time and what am I doing?
I forget I've got my crisis to happen. I feel like I've already had a couple of crises.
That you start panicking because suddenly you're starting to look at your bank balance and what assets you have around you, and you start going, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to make it to where I want to be.
Yeah, well, and we probably start to look around at our neighbours and our mates and go, shit, he's got the boat.
Yeah,
I never got the boat.
And they've got a batch, and they've just inherited some money from their parents, and I'm not going to get that, or whatever it is. So I always think in your 20s, if you can have that good discipline of just amping up your KiwiSaver, putting that aside, maybe having something else that's going on that you're investing in other areas, at least you're building a base that you can actually see. And that comes down to education and everything that you're talking about on this show. And then I think in your 30s, if you're having a family and doing all of that, you almost have to sort of adjust, talking about the sales, you adjust again because of the changes. And then you get into your 40s and your kids are getting a bit older and it's having another review and going, okay, it's almost like you need to start amping it up again to actually make it to that retirement. But I also would say to you, what is retirement? Because a lot of people get so fixated, as we do, on 65, but that can be whatever you want it. And the really super ambitious will make it 60, but it's not really retirement. I won't retire. I'm still going to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's getting that. What does that look like in your head as well?
I guess we should change the word retirement to not working for someone else, because I feel like that seems to be a common goal, is I just don't want to have to be working for someone else.
I think it's freedom.
Freedom is exactly
It's freedom.
Yeah.
If I want to work,
you're working for you.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to go and work for 2 days a week, then I can. And if I want to not work, then I can, because I have the financial backing behind me.
Yeah. So making it clear what you actually want out of your retirement is, and then how that's going to make you feel, back to the previous question, you know, and then again, working backwards. How do we make that achievable, measurable? It's a SMART goal.
Yeah.
You don't love SMART goals, do you?
I think they're too prescriptive, and I think they work for some people who really need structure, who really want to know it. But
for those listening, it's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time specific.
Yeah, time specific. Yeah. So I definitely take parts of SMART goal, those parts out and use them. Yeah. But I'm very strong on having that adaptability, but also checking in with that feeling. Because if you look at the SMART, it doesn't take into consideration any of that emotional of how you actually want to feel, and that is so important in the equation.
And I suppose one thing we haven't covered either is it's often not just you, it's a team effort, because it's you and your life partner. If there's someone in the equation, how you feel as a team and what you want your feeling goals to be together. Tricky one to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's a great exercise to do it separately and say, what does your retirement look like in your head? And what does yours look like in your head? And now let's see, because in actual fact, one of you might want to be doing a whole lot of travel, and the other one's going, no, I want to live in a lifestyle block and just live a calm life. Or it might be, I want to be able to just go, sit and read and go to my yoga all the time.
Yeah, and this comes down to compromise, and that's probably for a marriage podcast, not a financial one. But it is, again, it's all about communication and, constant realignment and adjustment of goals as a team and individually.
It's so
There's
important.
Probably no right or wrong time to start doing that, right?
No, definitely not. And I always think the sooner that you can put yourself into a process of actually having goals, looking at your future, going, how do I want to live, and adjusting and making those smaller goals to get there, those incremental things that make a difference, then you build a really good, call them habit. I like calling them rituals, because rituals have a much better meaning in terms of connection in here.
Well, and intention too,
and intention behind it. And intention is huge. And I always talk about self-leadership. I'm a self-leadership specialist, that when you self-lead, every day has intention, because you know where you're going, what your goals are, and what you want to do, so you don't get distracted.
And whether you're alone or in a partnership, there's no worse feeling than just kind of aimlessly floating.
Drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many... It's sad, but I see so many people like that. They're just drifting. They're what I call doing life on a daily basis.
But that's kind of all we've been trained to do.
Yeah.
I say it time and time again, you go to uni and you might get a degree, or you might not. You might go and do your OE, you meet someone, you get married, you buy a house, and then that's kind of it. You sit there and pay your mortgage.
No, but is that what life's about?
Absolutely not. But we've been conditioned into thinking that's it, and that's the measure of success. And when you buy that house, you're like, yes, I've done it. And you're like, fuck, this is not it sometimes.
No.
Obviously, there's great parts that come with it.
Yes.
There's security, and it's a great place to raise a family, and you can make some money off it, but yeah.
It's not the be-all and end-all. And I have worked with some very, very wealthy clients who are miserable, but they have everything.
Yeah,
they can do
amazing?
anything. They can go anywhere, and that's why I always come back to what's in here and what's your purpose and that feeling, and how does that follow into the goals that you want to achieve financially and how you want to live.
Imagine being that wealthy and being unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
So money doesn't buy you happiness.
I think it buys you freedom, and then if you're very connected and you do the work, then you can have a very fulfilling life.
In your experience, where do most people often give away their power when it comes to any long-term goal, but also in this case, retirement? Like, they have, it is entirely up to you. How often do you see them just go,
instant gratification?
Right, it's the stuff that gets in the way.
Yeah, I need a holiday.
Yeah.
And they go and blow 15 grand because all they're thinking about is how they're feeling right now.
Right now.
Oh, I'm going to go and have a holiday.
But we do need holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you need to, always go overseas? Can you go and do something that's a little bit different?
Yeah.
So instant gratification is one, it takes you off course, and then it kind of makes you distrust your process of going through with the goals because you've already broken them.
I have to say, surely right now it is harder than it ever has been to not be marketed to and not given to temptation of instant gratification.
Yes.
A, of the stuff available to us. B, the speed at which we can get the stuff. Mm-hmm. And C, the speed at which we can actually pay for the stuff, because now you don't have to. You can get the thing and kick the can down the road in terms of the payment.
Interest-free for years. And
it's pretty hard to get through this life and not have that temptation.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it comes back to, what are your goals and how fixed are you on actually being intentional of getting there, because the world is a noisy place and there's going to be things always to spend your money on and to take you away from your goals. So it's having those really good frameworks and disciplines in place
Yeah.
that you are so focused on that goal of financial, where you want to be and how you want to be, that you are less inclined to do that. But I always say to people, if you find you're off down that path and wanting to, break where you're going because of something that you really want, always spend a few days pondering it.
Yeah.
Because that instant can be the regret that you just go, why did we do that? Often when you wait 3-4 days and you talk about it a little bit more, that conversation of, should we really be doing this?
I'm a strange combo of both. Like, I'll make some pretty silly snap purchases because I'll feel the rush, but also I'll research myself out of buying something 9 times out of 10 because I'm so dedicated to getting the right deal or the right product.
Yes.
Sometimes, I'll go years without buying something.
Don't you get bored with that after a while, though, that you go, I'm not buying that anymore?
These shoes,
very nice.
Thank you, on the feet of the lead singer of Maroon 5 when I was probably 14, 15 years old. I just bought them 2 months ago because
Amazing.
I wasn't sure if they were right for me.
Yeah. And they're still right.
Love them.
And you're very happy.
I'm very happy with these
That's
shoes.
awesome.
They're
That's
an
awesome.
investment shoe.
And look, I think in this whole conversation, nobody wants to be miserable. And,
No.
I've started from scratch before in my late 30s. And it's putting new meaning into starting again.
What was your start from scratch story?
I had a business. My husband and I had a business. We had some business partners that came in who came in under a little bit of obscurity of having full confidentiality. Like, we couldn't tell anyone who our new business partners were because they were in the industry and they dealt with some of our biggest competitors.
A bit spooky.
Yeah. We thought it was, oh yeah,
Great,
fair.
there's more
Yeah,
money in the
yeah.
business, yeah.
First board meeting we had after they bought in, they said, sorry, we don't have the funding to fund the business, and we just put a few $100,000 in an order up in China for manufacturing of a product, and then they said, and by the way, you're now in liquidation.
Ugh, fuck. So, and how many years worth of work was that down the drain?
3 years of work, and we were really starting to make a difference. So that was about the competition, getting nervous about how we were showing up in the market, and this was a very clever way of pushing us out of the market, but actually costing them not much money, them buying us out. So they disappeared, they left us with it, and so my husband and I put it into liquidation, did all those hard conversations, sold the house at a loss because we had to get out of it really quickly, and we went and rented, and we had, I think it was about $3,500 in the bank.
So you truly started
And
again.
a child.
And a kid. How old was your kid at the time?
Was he 3?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you're still in the trenches with a young kid
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
What were your first steps to rebuilding?
When you're starting from scratch, you start going, what really matters?
Yeah.
And it was actually in hindsight, we always have hindsight, these are great experiences where you do a reset and you look at what's really important. So, starting with, okay, food. What do we really need food-wise, and what's that going to cost? And then it was literally sort of building and building from there to go, what are the absolute necessities? And it's amazing when you are forced to live in that way.
You've got no other option but
No.
to consider the most black and white of questions.
Yeah. That you realise, actually, even though we weren't living an extravagant life, it kind of feels like it's an extravagant life based on where we are at now.
Yeah.
We made really short-term goals, so it felt like we would, get to the gate and then we'd go, great, we got there. What's the next step? What's the next step? Because that really kept us motivated, and we could see the progress that we were making.
Of success,
and the success just gives you that motivation to keep going. And I always believe, if you're focused in the right way, and synchronicities that happen, and there were lots of fantastic things that came along. And what I would say to anyone who's really struggling, have some good people around you, because where you can be vulnerable and have those conversations about, life's shit, we're here, we've got nothing, and have those good people who are there to support you mentally and emotionally, and that you can be really open with.
Well, speaking of that, the next episode that you're going to come in for, we've spoken about it a lot, and I've probably been putting it off. I feel is the one where you get to peel apart the layers that make me. So you're excited about it, I can tell. I really want to
sweating already.
Yeah, I know. It's hot in here, the studio.
Yeah.
I do really want to understand what makes me tick, and I think you're going to be the person to help me figure that out. So I'm really looking forward to that. But until then, thank you so much for joining me again. So that was Sue Kohn-Taylor with some pretty deep insight into starting from scratch and designing goals around how you actually want to feel. Next up, Caroline joins me with her Enable Me coach, Di. Caroline's here to share her real-life experience, losing it all during the GFC, rebuilding their finances, and finally getting back on the property ladder. Let's hear how theory can become practice when you've basically got no other option. I asked Caroline to take us back to where it all began.
So while our journey with Enable Me has been 10 years, the journey actually started for us around the GFC in 2008 when we had a retail business that went under. And while I was still in my day job earning, my partner Michael at the time, he, we had to start again. Basically, we lost our house and went back to zero.
Oh my God.
And
that's everyone's, if you are on the property ladder, it's your worst fear if you own your own home, losing it, right?
Yeah. It was a very, very destabilising moment in time for us. And then, life got on a track. We've had employment and incomes and pretty good incomes, but we were not getting ahead. We wanted to get back on the property market. The Auckland property market exploded. Yeah. So the goalposts moved in terms of LVRs were introduced.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
We earned too much to get any kind of concessions from banks or government. Not that we were looking for handouts, but it seemed like the hurdles were a lot higher for us because of the situation we were in. Just lent to a
and starting from zero,
you
didn't have that leg up to actually to get there faster. Yeah.
So. After speaking to a couple of mortgage brokers along the way and things changing in the housing environment and the banking and government restrictions, we found Enable Me, and that's where we met Diane and changed our lives, really sent us on a different trajectory.
That's an interesting point you make. You spoke to a bunch of different advisors, and obviously they want to do the best to help you too, but quite often I feel like advisors are the what, because they say, well, you need this deposit. Enable Me is the how. It's how you actually build the blocks to get there, to build the steps or build the fence or whatever you need to climb to get to that point, because often it's not as easy as people might think, or you've been there and then you've lost it all. You've had to start again.
Yeah. So we didn't know how. We're just not maybe that way inclined. We felt financially not illiterate, but just like we just didn't know how to pull it all together.
Totally.
We earned okay.
Yep.
We just weren't getting ahead.
And you've done everything right. You'd built a business.
Yeah.
You had done something successful, and now it seems as if you're almost being punished for it because you're in this middle.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we felt like we were punished by the system because.
Well, you didn't cause the GFC.
No, we did not.
As far as I'm aware.
But all sorts of things happened in the regulatory environment and around us that were out of our control.
Totally.
And we just weren't able to get that foothold that we needed to get.
But I understand that thing about not being financially illiterate, but that sometimes you talk to a lot of people who just seem to have it. They've got the numbers game, they've got the money game together, and you need to do something to bridge that gap. I'm the same. So what were some of the first steps you took together to begin rebuilding?
Well, we talked about goals. We talked about non-negotiables, what's important, because the non-negotiables are the things that align with our values and the way we want to live our life.
Of course.
So they have got to be put in the plan. It's got to be sustainable. And I could clearly see that if Carolyn lived to the plan, there was a nice surplus. They could really accelerate their savings, and it was going to be pretty quick before you could get into a home using KiwiSaver, etc. as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So we made quite a bit of ground early on, I feel. Yeah. We got there within 2 years.
Yes.
It was
amazing.
That's pretty quick.
And it didn't feel like we were sacrificing because we felt like obviously there were going to be sacrifices we had to make, But, like Diane says, with the not negotiables, our sport's very important to us.
Yes.
We're not huge travellers, but our sport is really, really important to us. So we needed to be able to sustain what we wanted to do with our goals and in that arena.
And overseas family.
And
so
overseas
there were
family.
trips overseas which were non-negotiable.
Oh, yes. So what were some of the sacrifices then? Because it sounds like your non-negotiables are pretty
Brunch. I think it was brunch.
Yeah.
bright.
Coffees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I seem to remember
yeah.
a month when we looked back at our finances. My partner had spent something like $400 on coffees.
It's such a slippery slope, isn't it? One here,
Yeah.
one there.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
he's
the
a
fritter we talk about all the
great
time.
mate. You want a coffee? 5 people in the shop. Coffee that
Coffees
day.
are like $7 now. So it took you 2 years to build a deposit back together, and you were back on the ladder.
Pretty much. I'm pretty sure it was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big of a milestone? How did that feel? Do you remember the feeling when was it a call from Di, or was it you watching your bank account going, "Fucking come on, where's the number"?
Well, actually, we'd signed up to a new build a year before, so we knew it was coming.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we worked with Enable Me on with I forget the name. of the
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Momentum,
Some-
Property Pro.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we knew it was coming a year before. It took a year for that build to come through.
Yeah.
We're in the fortunate position where by the time that new build was built, it was a different property market to now, so it was worth more than what
Yeah,
we
nice.
paid for it.
So you've accelerated.
And you had a really
Yeah.
firm goal. You knew you had to hit your targets because in a year's time you were settling on the property, and then it was all about how do we structure this mortgage? We're
Yeah.
not going to take 30 years. We want to get it done and dusted earlier.
Nice.
And a few years after that, you actually upgraded your home.
Yeah, I think that's another point. Probably one of the sacrifices was the initial home wasn't necessarily the exact home that wasn't our forever home.
Yeah.
No.
It was a step on the ladder. It was us getting in and making the best of where we were at that time.
Was it a tough pill to swallow? Given this wasn't
no,
your
it's
first time.
better than renting?
Yeah.
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 So no, not really. I mean, we ended up in a really nice neighbourhood with great neighbours, made some good friends, and
Cool.
it was good.
And also,
time.
a new build means it's warm, it's dry, it
No
doesn't need
maintenance.
maintenance. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
a warranty on it probably, right? So anything that breaks,
Yeah.
too bad. Get someone else to suss
yeah,
it out.
100%.
So you've said you've worked with Di for 10 years now. It's probably a more important relationship than the one at home. How has your approach to money changed?
Knowing about that.
But how has your approach to money changed? Because obviously, you obviously had some kind of financial nous running a business initially. That fell over due to circumstances outside of your control. Surely now, after 10 years of playing this game and playing it hard, the way you perceive and feel money has changed.
I think we're just a lot more conscious of our outgoings and the frittering. There's a whole lot less frittering of money. We're accounting for every dollar.
Yeah.
That's I think a big part of it, that nothing goes unnoticed. It's all under the watchful eye of Di still too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess our self-control's a little bit different. We feel that we have planned for the major spends
Yeah.
as opposed to things coming along. I mean, obviously there's incidentals along the way that have thrown curveballs at us, but predominantly our major spends are planned and doable. So that feels better. It feels better that you're not feeling sideswiped by
Yeah.
everything.
Because although a lot of costs are unpredictable,
Yes.
a lot of them are still kind of predictably unpredictable, like whiteware
Tyres.
and
Yeah.
tyres. Like
Yeah.
the stuff does break.
Yep.
You should have a buffer for that stuff, which is just going to happen. Like you can't put your head in the sand and say, nothing in my house is going to break.
No.
Nothing in my house is going to need replacing. My car's going to be
car's
fine
gonna go
every single
forever.
time. This stuff. Oh, Christmas comes at the same time every year. It shouldn't take you by surprise, right? It's just it's building in the buffer and knowing that is actually a necessity. Do you think if, touch wood, if Di got hit by a bus tomorrow and Enable Me closed its doors, touch wood, that won't happen, that you've got it now?
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so.
Di's given you the tools that you can
Yeah.
just carry with you for life now, right?
I believe so.
Awesome.
And we
Yeah.
have a line of sight to retirement. So it's giving you confidence that you can retire and have a great retirement.
We hope so.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Yeah.
difference, isn't it? There's
Yeah.
retiring, and then there's retiring
Absolutely.
comfortably, and then there's
Yeah.
having a fantastic retirement, the
Yes.
one you want and dream of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think you're on that path now. Well,
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think, because, I mean, you can't help but compare yourself to other people, right? Because you're in a place and time, and you've got peers and people who've been in your life. And I think there's still a bit of catch-up maybe we could do. But I feel like we're probably able to do that with the financial nous that we've gleaned from being through, being with Enable Me.
yeah, awesome. And it's catching up rather than keeping up with the Joneses or
Yeah.
anything. Like you're not trying to outdo anyone else. It's actually your goals and the life that you want to live now, right? Yeah. It's in your control, which is how empowering is that? So looking back now, what would you say to someone who is at that square one? Possibly, maybe they didn't lose a business because of the 2008 GFC, very specific set of circumstances for you guys, but if they're at square one, maybe wanting to get on that property ladder or trying to rebuild for whatever reason and feeling a bit overwhelmed, what would you say to them?
Don't be scared to reach out and to ask, and actually to get a third party to get eyes on it.
Yeah,
Because there's no shame in asking for help and actually
totally.
admitting that you don't know everything.
Yep.
And that even if you are maybe even an expert in the field, perhaps you just have some blind spots in your own situation. So, yeah, reach out. Don't be afraid to have a third party involved to shine a spotlight on a few things that maybe you've not seen.
If something broke on your car, you wouldn't be embarrassed that you couldn't fix it. You go, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to get a mechanic to sort it out for me, and they can tell me what's going on. You do the same with your money, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
And we tell clients to take action, be brave and be committed.
Yep.
And these guys have shown up for 10 years and they deserve the results. You guys have done the hard work. I've just shown you what you can achieve, a line of sight into the future.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a proud mum as a coach?
I do.
Because you must have
Absolutely.
I mean, Caroline aside, you must have so many
Absolutely.
clients where you go, fuck yeah, you've smashed
Yeah,
it.
I know.
Proud mum status.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Where's My Money. Thanks again to Sue Kohn-Taylor for helping us figure out how to set goals that actually matter. And to Caroline and Di for showing us that even after hitting rock bottom, you can rebuild and get a line of sight to the future. Remember, it's not about instant gratification. It's about staying intentional, being adaptable, and keeping your eyes on the life that you want to live. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to flick us a like on Facebook and Instagram, and reach out if there's a guest you'd like to hear on the podcast. You can also watch our full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. Thanks to producer Lockie, producer Brody for being legends. Next week, The Cost of Dying, Part 2. I get into the nitty-gritty expenses behind not just preparing to die, but actually dying. Yeah, we're talking wills, caskets, hydrocremation, all of it. So I'll just leave you to ponder your own mortality for a week, and I'll stay here to keep asking the question, where's my money?